All right, so it's super dark, but this is the only time I have to do this. I am going to change the cage on this 2024 RZR Pro XP. I am fairly certain that from 2022, 2023, 2024, they'll all be the same cage. But then I think 2025, I think it's still the same cage even now, 2025, 2025, 26. But either way, the frame's going to be the same. So this will apply to pretty much any RZR Pro XP. And I just got the best news ever because apparently he's making room inside. So we will have better light in a minute. And it's only like 20 degrees right now. So I'm, I'm really happy about that. But the Voodoo cage, I mean, obviously you'll get an after when we're done, but it's a much more low profile cage. So it'll look nice and sleek, kind of badass. I'm not gonna be able to do every single step because I don't have a tripod and I'm just kind of low on time. But basically, you get a pretty good view of where the mounting points are there. You come around there and there and there on both sides. I'll get as much detail as I can, but I gotta try to get this done and try to make it last on one battery. So just kind of what we're up against here. But and on the machine you can kind of see, have to lift these guys up to get to the bolts. And I just moved, so I don't have my tripod. So we're back to the old days where I've got a shaky camera. I will rectify that situation as soon as I can, but there you go. So there's one mounting point. You see the bolts there. See the bolts there. Come back here. And there's that block. And then all the way back here, looks like we will have to take off this panel here. And, oh, there's the bolts there. So those are the mounting points there. And we'll get a good walk around at how kind of dorky the stock cage looks. But I'm not just doing it for looks, I'm doing it for safety. I'm gonna have my little babies in there. So want to make sure if we do roll, which I have been known to do, they're a little bit safer. And I do have harnesses coming, but they're not here yet. So that'll be in a separate video. All right, so we tried to do a step-by-step process of putting the cage on. It didn't work very well. We were just in a really cramped space, and I was fortunate. I usually have to do everything by myself. I was fortunate enough to have help, so that was awesome. But it also meant it was really hard for me to work and to watch what he was doing and record every step of the way. It just didn't work out. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but I think that I can show you pretty easily how we did it. It's a very labor intensive job, but it's not very complicated, if that makes sense. So let me just show you what we did real quick. And I think that would be enough for you to decide if it's something you want to tackle yourself or pay somebody to do. So first of all, you can see it's done. And it's already filthy. We've already gone on a ride to the sand dunes. So it worked great. It was awesome. But step one in getting the cage off, the stock cage off, is getting access to the bolts. There's some bolts under here. So on the stock cage, you don't have this bar here. So you can just grab this and just slide it right up and get access to those bolts. These bolts are just right behind the door. And then these bolts are behind the fender. And then back here, these bolts are down here. So, do you have to take the fender off? If you've got 4 or 5 very strong and tall people, you could probably get away without taking the fender off. You can see you've got to pull it through this hole. you're gonna have to be able to pull it straight up, so up high, while also fighting that hole. So is it possible? Yes. Do you really want it to? Probably not. It doesn't take much to get the fender off and to get access to that. So I'll show you how we did it. There's only a couple bolts holding it on. There's one, this loop here, and this 10mm bolt. And then there is a Torx bit right here. I think it was a T40, but I might be wrong about that. And then this whole piece, after you take those bolts out, it's just held in by clips. You can kind of see the clips. There's one here, and then as you keep going, there's one there. And all you have to do to get those clips off is just get something between them and pry while kind of putting a little bit of pressure up, and they'll pop up. You can see mine are not fully down. I didn't get them fully seated when I put it back in. I didn't notice that before. But then, yeah, once you do that, you just pull that the whole painted part comes right off. And then underneath that, or I guess not underneath, this black panel does not have to come all the way off. So you don't have to take all of this off. You just have to pull this push pin, this push pin. There was a push pin there. I'll show you in a second why it's not there anymore. This bolt, and underneath the fender, I think here and here, there's a couple more push pins that you pull out. And then this whole thing will just fold right out of the way. And then you can pull the cage right out after you take the bolts out. So that's how you get access to the bolts. The way we did it was we pulled these bolts out first. We pulled these nuts off, but left the bolts in there loose. Then we pulled these two bolts out. And then we pulled these two bolts out. We did that on both sides. It is helpful to do each side together because they are different size bolts. So we did the front two at the same time, and then we moved back and did these two at the same time, and then these two at the same time, and then these two at the same time. That way you're not searching for tools and going back and forth with different tools. You just have the right tools for that section ready to go. And then hopefully you have at least 3 people. So we did it with 3 people. The cage isn't super heavy, but it is very long and awkward. And it's heavy enough. I mean, it's not light, but it's not extremely heavy. But if you have 4 people, so you can have one at each corner, you're gonna be a lot better off. But we did it with 3. So once you get all the bolts out, it just lifts right off. But before you put the other cage back on, if you're using this cage at least, the Voodoo Riders cage, this back pillar is at much more of an angle than the stock frame pillar or cage pillar. So the stock cage pillar is kind of not straight up and down, but a lot more vertical than this. You have to cut a piece of this out. You can see where I made the cut there. Just one cut, just cut straight down there, and the other side just falls off. Otherwise, when you put the cage on, it's putting such a bind on that plastic that it pulls out your fenders and everything. It doesn't work. So you do have to cut that off. And then you can put the push pin back in. I just left mine out. As far as bolting it back on, we did it the same way, the opposite way as we took it off. We put these bolts and those bolts in first because they're the easiest, and just loosely, just screw the nuts on very loosely. And then we did try to do these bolts next. We were able to do those two just fine on that side. They went in fairly easily, but this one and this back one went in fairly easily. This one did not. It was so far off. We'll talk about that in just a second, but it was really bad. So, and then we just moved back here and put these ones in loosely on both sides. And then the fronts were fairly simple. But to get them lined up, you do have to have some ratchet straps. I wouldn't say any of the bolts really went in very willingly, except for the first sets that we put in. After that, we had to use ratchet straps and kind of just anything with a hook like this. For these back ones, we had to strap around this bar, and then we were using just anything we could. So there's like these hooks, this hole here, like behind the seat, there's these hooks here. And yeah, we used all of those. Just depending on what angle you need to pull it, you can just, at one time we had like 1, 2, 3 here strapped down to these hooks, and then one from like here to here all at the same time, just to get this bolt lined up. I would say if you have a bolt that is that far off, do something different. If you have to ratchet that extremely, that's a lesson I learned. If you have to ratchet that extremely, something's going to be wrong. You're putting the frame of the vehicle on too much of a bind. My door, even after adjusting it to its highest setting, it still has to be force closed. So obviously that's not good for the latch itself. That's going to wear that latch out. But if it's tweaking the frame so much that that latch no longer lines up, then it's putting other things on a bind too. So what I will end up doing is pulling this bolt back out probably, and letting the cage go where it really wants to, and then just reaming that hole out. I think that's a better alternative than having the entire frame on such a hard bind. Other than that, it fit pretty good. It was just that one block that just didn't get welded quite straight enough. And yeah, like I said, you're always going to have some tweaking you have to do. That's never going to be perfect, but it should be like reasonable, right? It should be within reason. If you've got 3 straps on there to make it fit, you probably need to come up with a different plan. Other little tips, all these bolts I was talking about, these just have little sandwich clips in there, and none of mine, the sandwich clips are supposed to be tight. They're supposed to be able to stay in even when the bolt's not in there. None of mine were. They all fell directly out and down into no man's land there, and I had to drop all the skid plates to find them. So just pay attention when you're pulling these out. Make sure those clips don't fall out, and if they are loose, all you got to do is pull them out and get some pliers or something and just pinch them together, and then they should stay. And another thing I should have mentioned before you pull all the bolts out, you'll want to support the middle of the cage, or the middle of the vehicle, sorry. And we just used this right here. This is a subframe there. We used that. We just put a jack on that and just put pressure on it. We didn't jack the vehicle up. We just put pressure there. And so when we pulled the cage, it didn't try to fold in. It turns out that didn't even matter. That the frame did not fold in at all. It didn't move. So I would still do it if I were you, just to make sure that it doesn't fold in, because that's something you can't reverse. But yeah, anyway, just something to make sure you do. And then yeah, once you get all the bolts in loosely, just tighten it all up and you should be good to go. You'll have yourself a nice looking cage. Putting the fenders on is just as simple as putting the push pins back in, putting the bolts back in, and then you just line those clips up with their slots and just push down. And of course you got to put that bolt back in, and oh, went loose. And then these band clamps here, they're kind of a pain. They're not quite big enough. I mean, it worked, obviously they're there, but You can see this one's on quite a bind. So I don't know if you want to buy some bigger ones, you can. But yeah, just those were hard to fit, but those are the stock ones. So how does it compare to stock? Well, it's a lot shorter. You can see that right away. That's what makes it look so freaking awesome. But I think it might be lighter than the stock cage. It really felt, we didn't have a scale that we could weigh something that big on, but it weighed, if it wasn't the same, if it wasn't lighter, it was at least the same as the stock cage, which is pretty crazy because that's a 120 wall cage. Usually when you add thicker steel like that, of course you're going to add weight, but I guess because it's so much shorter, you lose enough material that it offsets the weight, I guess, because yeah, it honestly felt lighter. It was the same people lifting it back to back. And then as far as it being shorter, I don't have any problem in the front seat. I'm 6 feet tall. You want to be exact, I'm 5'11.5" with my shoes off. So 6 feet tall. Anybody, I mean, you could be a few inches taller than me and be fine in the front, but in the back, not so much. So as I sit back here with no hat or anything on, I've got probably 2.5 inches above my head. So if you're going to be hauling adults, if they're going to be wearing helmets or anything, you might have to think about a different cage. Because yeah, especially like right there, if we go over a bump, I would easily hit my head right there. I'm scraping my hand. So it is very short. I know like the Vent Racing cage they had at the same dealership I got this at, it was a little bit taller, so that might be a better aftermarket cage, or you might just have to look around and see if there's any stronger cages that are also shorties if you're going to have taller adults in your back seat very often. And so as far as windshields go, that is a Super ATV polycarbonate windshield. It is not a direct fit. You can't use an OEM windshield on this cage. It's too short. It's about 1.5 inches, 2 inches too short. With a plastic one, obviously, you can trim it down. That's what I was able to do. I just trimmed it, made some clearance holes, and then I did have to modify the brackets here. The bottom ones are fine, but the top ones, the pillar's much wider, so I did have to ream the hole out in order to make that fit. The stock windshield gets narrower at the top. It's 42 at the bottom and like 40.5 at the top, where this cage is 42 at the bottom and 42 at the top. So you can get a windshield from Voodoo Riders. They sell a whole windshield for about $1,000, or you can just get the frame from them for like $250 and put in your own glass if you have that technology, or a buddy or whatever. I opted to go with the $180 windshield instead, but it did turn out pretty good. I'm not quite done. I installed this windshield, I think I was finally done at about 1:30 in the morning, right the day before we were going on a ride. So I haven't put this windshield came with like a rubber surround that I can put on. I don't think I'll put the bottom on. I think I'd rather have the air coming through there, and I'll probably just put the rubber up the side, but not quite sure on that. And another thing to make sure you're aware of, there are no bungs for stock seat belts. Now, I know most people are going to use harnesses, and that makes sense. I wanted harnesses too, but just know, if you're planning on using your stock seat belts, if you don't like harnesses or whatever, for whatever reason, you can't use this cage. You would have to, well, I guess you could. You would have to drill a hole and weld in threads to use the stock seat belts. And then the last thing is the roof fits awesome and it looks awesome, but it does vibrate like crazy. Everybody knows the roofs vibrate. I was really expecting it to, but I just feel like the roof comes with the cage. I just wish they would include as part of the roof some kind of like rubber isolators just to go along here. That's what I'm going to end up doing. That's what everybody ends up doing. But if you make cages and you make roofs for them, just have that be part of it, because everybody's going to need it. This one vibrates like crazy. It gets pretty annoying on a long day of riding. But it does look awesome. It fits awesome. Every single one of these fasteners lined up perfectly. So I was really happy with that. This cage, as it sits, I priced it on their website, and I think it was about $3,600 with shipping. But I got mine from Golden Spike Powersports, and I got it for much less. I don't want to say how much, because I don't want to get Tristin in trouble. But if you are looking for an aftermarket cage, I know they have this one and Vent Racing in stock. I'll leave links for the Voodoo Riders website and for Golden Spike's website, and email for Tristin. But yeah, you can call them both and see what either one of them will do for you. But I was really happy with Golden Spike. They gave me such a good deal on everything. The price of the machine, the price of the harnesses, the price of the cage, they were all less than I could get them directly from the manufacturer. So definitely worth giving them a call. Okay, and I wish I could do like a direct comparison between the stock cage and this cage, but the stock cage is at my father-in-law's, or ex-father-in-law's house. So I can't just, I was hoping to be like, oh, there's the stock one, there's this one, but I don't have it here. I'll just end this video with a nice slow walk around. I'm in the middle of a field, so hopefully I don't fall, but there it is, the Voodoo Racing cage. That's as far as I can go. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Look forward to those other videos, and we'll see you on the next ones. All right, so you can kind of see it. The fender's off here. That's the inside of the fender. And these clips here just snap right into these here. So you just kind of have to like get something in and pry kind of this way, and then that releases the end there. And then I think we got enough room now. We shouldn't have to take anything else off. I'm gonna take this one off, just one more, just to give us a little more flexibility, but that should be it. And we'll do the other side, and then we should be ready to start pulling bolts. Okay, so we got everything exposed. We can get right to everything. Doug is already starting to take bolts out. Before we pull the cage off though, we will support the center.
Yeah, I'm just loosening them so they're ready.
Yeah, just getting them ready. Okay. But yeah, we'll get a jack underneath and support the middle so it doesn't sag. But let's see if I can get under there and figure out where to go. Yeah, I'll double check, but I will probably use this rail. I'm pretty sure that would be a subframe right there. Okay, just a little check in. We kind of got it started, but man, getting the bolts, you can see we're just trying to get it one at a time. It's so strong, it just doesn't line up. But you can see we're just using ratchet straps. Grab onto here, use these. There's like, you can see that hook right there. I don't know what those are really for, but they're pretty strong. We've been using the hooks like that. We use that frame gusset hole like that, and just whatever angle you need to pull it from, use a ratchet strap and pull it into place. But you can see we've got quite a few bolts already. And an eager little bunny helper, or not a bunny, you're a unicorn, huh? But yeah, we're really close on this one. But just doing a little check-in here since we can't do a complete play-by-play. All right, so I don't have enough room in here to really get a full angle of this. We'll pull it out in a little bit and get a good view of it, but it's all done. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Not yet, Ari. All the bolts are tight. Man, we worked for it. We had to earn it. I can see why they wanted to charge $600 for installation. But all the bolts are in, all the bolts are tight. Get a good view of them. There. 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 And so one thing I will say is this cage is just thick enough that these don't get very good into the nylock. So you'll either want to get, I don't think it's necessary to get longer bolts because they're about flush with the nylock part. But I would maybe at least use some thread locker. So I'm gonna, when I come back, I'm gonna take all these nuts off and actually put some of that orange thread locker on there too. But you can see even on, and then like even these bolts that came with it, same thing. They barely get through the nylock, which means, I mean, hopefully the nylock still is able to do its job, but I wouldn't trust it. I mean, these ones are fine, but a lot of them are not. So I want to put some thread locker on there. And the only bad thing is this door will not close. So I'm gonna work on that. Before I even try to make any adjustments, I don't think the door's out of adjustment. I think this cage just needs to settle because this one, out of all the mounts, you got that one and then this one was so hard. We had to ratchet and pry, and so I'm just wondering if it's pulling the cage up too much. Maybe I'll try to record putting one of these fenders on so you can see. I mentioned those clips falling out. That's one of the clips that will fall out on you. It's in there right now. I'm missing I think we were able to locate all the clips, but I'll put it in when I get to that point. Let's just show how these line up. So you can kind of see the clips just kind of go into these holes here. The slots, I should say. A little distracted here. So let's see. Oh, there's a good view. So we start, just line these clips up. Oh, you're not going to be able to see that back one, but that would be the first stage. Just okay, that one's in. That one we might need to put pressure. Yeah, I'll have to put pressure on that one and squeeze it together, but that gets you a really good view of how that works. See that one there. It'd probably be a little easier if I secured this first, and then I could put pressure on there. But I just wanted to show those clips going in. Yeah. As I was putting the fenders on, I realized that this new cage smashes right here. So if I would have been smart, I would have trimmed that first, but I had no idea that was happening. You can see it's making a gap right here on both sides. This side already broke, but we didn't break it. Actually, Polaris broke that. When I took this pin out, that just fell right off. Okay, so these beauty covers, they physically look like they would fit, but with how hard it was to like shape the cage in place, I just don't know. When we took the cage off, I slipped it up, but there's no way to slip it up and back with this here. So you probably just end up leaving those off, or maybe just putting a slit in it, coupling it around, and then securing it somehow. I might end up doing that because I got a windshield, and the windshield is cut out for these. So it'll look really, I guess it probably won't matter, but I'm not sure if I'll end up putting those back on or not. I never loved those anyway. They weren't really, I don't really like fake things. It's got a fake speaker in there and stuff. So I'm not sure if I'll put those on, but if you wanted to, probably your best bet would be to put a slit somewhere strategically here, and then just wrap it around. But you'd want to secure it somehow, zip tie or some good tape or glue, or I don't know, because there is a chance it could blow off. I mean, probably not though. I don't know. Do what you want with yours. I'm not sure I care enough to put those back on or not. But if I do, that's how I'll do it. I just got to figure out that dang door.